Hi, it's Cece with So Steady, and we've got Pam Varner here. She is live, ready to tell you all about her amazing project we're going to be sharing today.
Ta-da! We're going to be making Christmas garland. This is such an easy project to do, and you're going to learn a little bit about buttonholes, maybe a secret or two that you didn't know before. So I think we should start.
Are you
We
ready?
should tell them that we're using the Christmas Motif collection by Sew Biz. That's
Oh,
what these
yeah.
shapes are. Super
That's
fun. Yeah.
I will also put a link in there,
Hi, my
and
name is Pam.
I will honor the 20% off on that one today.
Oh,
So,
ooh, exciting.
yay! All right, because everybody's going to want these after they watch this class, right?
Yep,
All right, well, we're going to have you take it away. Thanks, Pam.
you're welcome. Varner, and today we are going to make some Christmas garland. Let's get started. The supplies that we are going to need for each square of our garland, we are going to use two pieces, 4 inches by 6.5 inches of background fabric. You're also going to want a 6.5 inch square piece of background fabric, a 6.5 inch piece of batting. We're going to want a 6.5 inch piece of motif fabric. So this is what your shapes are going to be made out of. You want a 6 inch square piece of template fuse, because what you don't want is you don't want the template fuse to go beyond this fabric. So you want a piece just a little bit smaller. You're going to need your applique disc set. You're going to need your Christmas motif templates by Sew Biz, and a piece of ribbon. My ribbon is 3/8 of an inch wide, I believe. Yes, it's 3/8 of an inch wide. So you're going to need that. Now, our first step is to take one of our 4 by 6.5 inch pieces of fabric. We are going to fold over one side on the long side, the 6.5 inch side, and we're going to press it, and then we're going to hem it. There's this, I don't know if you can see even the stitching right here. Then we're going to make some buttonholes. And the way that I measured for the buttonholes, I took a ruler with a 45-degree marking on it, and I drew a line. So that's what this line right here is. I drew that. Then I came down an inch and I drew a line here. Then I came down 1/2 inch and I drew another line. You could come down 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches here. This was cutting it pretty close, but it worked out really well, so I was happy with it. Then you want to put in 2 1/2 inch buttonholes. Now, the thing with a buttonhole is you want it to be about 1/8 of an inch shorter than the width of your ribbon. Okay, because you want it to fit tight on your ribbon. You don't want it to slide back and forth. So that's how I figured that out. Now, I always put stabilizer behind my fabric when I make buttonholes. It's just, your buttonholes are a little more secure, I guess is what I'm trying. Your machine doesn't suck in your fabric when you're making your buttonholes if you put stabilizer on the back. Now, this one is open. But this one, the way I open my buttonholes is I go into the middle. I come out just a couple of places with my seam ripper. And then I don't want to take out a lot of area, just a little bit. So I just get it started. Then I take a pair of scissors with a really sharp point and very carefully snip. I don't want to snip too much at a time. because I don't want to go into these stitches here. And I also don't want to go into the side stitches. And then I turn it around, put my scissors in, just take little snips. There we go. And that is set. So that's how I do my buttonholes. Next up, we are going to put our Appliqué on the back of our motif fabric. Now, I have a little bit of Appliqué kind of sticking out here, so I'm going to use an applique sheet. And just a little tip on this, I mark this side of my applique sheet that I put on the sticky side. So sticky is going to be on this side, and then that way I always know that the sticky part is on the same side. It comes off really easily, but just in case, I want to make sure that I don't put my iron on the sticky part. So my iron's heated up. I'm going to do the pressing, and I just press for about 10 seconds, move my iron. And then after we do this, we're going to let it cool. Peel this back. There we go. We'll let that cool. While that is cooling, let me talk to you a little bit about the motif discs or the motif templates. So we have all sorts of fun shapes for the holidays. We have a bell. We have a Christmas tree. Now, these templates that I'm showing you are mirrored image of each other, so it doesn't matter what side of the template you use them. And then you have your gingerbread man. He's one of my favorites. And then we have an ornament. And then the last two, the star and the stocking, are not mirror imaged of each other. The star looks like it is, but see how this shape here, this how it goes off at an angle? So when you do applique, you have to mirror image on your Appliqué when you draw it out. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So there's the star and also the stocking, same thing. So we are going to do the stocking, and this is the way we're going to stitch it because I have my stable tape on the bottom. But when I draw it out, I have to draw it out in mirror image. So let me go get my pencil. So just remember that with your Appliqué. So I'm going to get out my applique discs. They're very tiny. And what they do is they mark 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the template. So when you stitch 1/4 inch, you have a little 1/8 of an inch spacing there. So, and these are really tiny, but fortunately they're fluorescent. So they are easy to see. So we're just going to come along here, and this disc might be too big for my pencil. Let's see if I can, if this one's better. Oops. Like I said, they're really tiny. There we go. And you just go around the template. Let's do a little smooth there. And there we have our shape. So we're going to cut this out with our fabric scissors. I like to use serrated scissors, which is what these are. They may be a little too big for this piece, but we're going to find out. So we're going to come in here, and I'm cutting right on my pencil line. Now, when I cut applique pieces, I always move the fabric on a curve instead of the scissors. You get a much nicer curve if you do that. And I'm going to finish cutting this out. We have some kind of fun little dips in here that you have to be careful of. Because remember, you're stitching only 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of this piece. Always moving the fabric and not the scissors. It's hard to see, but there's a little indent here too. If you miss that, it's going to be fine. There we go. Now we're on the home stretch. Get to this last curve and move the fabric. There we go. Now, when we flip our template over and put our fabric on our background, then this is going to be on the right side. Okay? If we had stitched it like this, our motif would be like that and it wouldn't work. So it's just the star and the star and the stocking that are like that. So then I take my background fabric, put it in the angle, put my stocking in as center as I can get it. So I'm going to take off the paper. I just score it with a pin. And then I take off the paper of the template fuse. Put it in the center on an angle because our piece is going to hang from the corner. And then I'm going to 10 seconds. And then after that, I kind of go over it like this. And we are now ready to go to the sewing machine. We are now going to stitch our fuse down applique piece. We're going to put it on top of batting. center it as best we can. Should be the same size. And then we are going to put our template on. And remember that your applique piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller than your actual template. That's what happens when you use the applique discs. It makes it just a little bit smaller. So I can actually use my spacing gauge and come over here and measure and see that that was a little too close. This is a little too far. Now I may not have cut perfectly too, so I can just kind of go around and see where things are not lined up properly with my spacing gauge. And I think that looks pretty good. So I am going to stitch. I'm going to start, let's start up here. I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up and grab a hold of my bobbin thread and my starting thread. I'm going to go put my foot down, but I like to put my foot down and then move it over against the template. So.
I'm supposed to be able to grab these threads fairly easily. Don't know why that seems to be a problem today. There we go. And now I'm going to go around. This template has a couple of little dips in it. I'm stopping and moving that thread out of the way. And then we are going to go up. Again, there's another little dip right there. And there's a dip up here at the top. I'm going to go around a second time because I think it looks better. And I think I might have moved my template a little bit, but that's okay. Couple of locking stitches, and then I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread. I'm going to lower my foot and make sure I'm right on top there. Lower my needle, come back up. We're just going to trim this off. I'm not going to bury any of these threads. The beginning threads were stitched over again, so they're secure. And the ending threads, we went back and forth. So there we have it. Very cute. We're going to take our piece with the buttonhole, make sure that the buttonholes are up in this corner. This is the top, and we're going to place our pieces right sides together. Then we're going to take our other backing fabric and put it over it, lining up the outer edges. Okay? And then we are going to stitch with a regular foot. I need to change my foot here. and we're going to stitch 1/4 inch away all the way around. But I'm going to show you a little trick. If you stitch backwards to the edge or start right on the edge of your fabric, when you come here, you want to be careful that the toes of your foot don't go under this piece of fabric, which they did not. And now when I stitch here, I want to go off the edge and then back up. Then I want to pivot to a corner and I want to back stitch. And then I want to move forward. So you're sewing off in every corner and you're making sure that your stitches go beyond, go all the way to the edge, of the fabric. There we go. We're going to go to the edge and we're going to back up. This piece got slid a little bit, a little off the batting, but that's not going to be a problem. We started over there by the buttonhole. Get to the edge, back up. This, for some reason, I don't understand why, but it gives you a really nice corner. Oops, I forgot to back up. And this time when we get to the edge, we are going to just stitch right off. And now we are done stitching. And we are going to cut our corners just a little. We don't want to cut through the stitches. And sometimes I shave my corners, but it's really hard to show you with this white thread. Maybe I should have used red thread. But I'm trimming off my corners. My fabric shifted a little bit here, but that's going to be fine. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. I'm going to go for corners, and now we're going to turn this right side out. I like to use my finger. I have fingernails. If you don't have fingernails, you kind of, sometimes you can't poke this out before I get out my point turn. I'm just turning this all the way around. And then I will get out my point turner and go up into the corners and point those out. Careful, you don't want to poke through. And you might want to take some of this stabilizer out of this corner. There we go. I could press this to get the marks out where the buttonholes are, but it's on the back, so no one's going to see it. Look at how cute this is. Now, you could, if you wanted to, sew this shut along here, hand sew it. You could put a strip of either Templey Fuse or Steam-A-Seam makes it in strips that you could put in here. Wonder Tape makes one where you could just press it down and hold it that way. But let's go see how easy it is to put the ribbon in. I have this bodkin that has a little slit on the bottom here. You could use a safety pin, that works really well. I'm putting the ribbon through the slit in the bodkin. That is the most difficult thing to do. I'm going to cut our ribbon at a little point here. I think that might make it easier. There we go. This ribbon, because this bodkin hole is so small, is not going to shift. And then you just feed it through. Pull your ribbon through. And because we made the buttonholes a little bit smaller than the ribbon, it's not going to shift around when you hang it up, right? So you can move this anywhere you want and it'll stay. That is how you make the squares for the garland, and you can make as many as you want. So I really hope that you enjoy this project, and I can't wait to see pictures of what you make.
We've made our one garland piece, but I thought we could make some garlands just with stitching with the other templates. So let's see how all these work. We're going to start with the bell. And as you can see, we have our different markings here. These are a 1/2 inch apart. And we have dotted lines, and then a solid line, a dotted line, a solid line. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this dotted line. It's not exactly in the middle. The solid line is in the middle, but we're going to use the one above it. And we're going to line that up. I've made a line here on my sandwich, and we're going to line that up, and we're going to stitch around, and we're going to stop on that line again. Then we're going to use a connector to go to the line, and then pick another template. So let's start with the bell. So I just need to pull on this line like so. This is where I'm going to start. And let's see, get back in there. And then I take a couple of stitches to anchor them. And now I want to get this thread out of my way a little bit. Let's see, there we go. And I'm going to put my template in. I'm going to go on that dot. It would help if I put my template where the stable tape was on the bottom and not the top. That would be helpful. And we're going to go on that dotted line. And we're just going to stitch around. Let's make sure, yeah. Should not have lifted my foot there, but there we go. We're going to stitch around. It doesn't matter which way I go, but I'm going to go up. This would be a fun thing to do on a Christmas table runner or a quilt, to do some edge-to-edge quilting that was Christmas themed. But I just thought you'd like to see how all of these stitch out. And there's a little bump right here. And you just kind of have to be careful on the bump. And now we're going to stop on the line. And we're going to get these threads out of the way. Now I'm going to use my connector, and this is connector 2. Nope, we're going to use connector 1. This is connector 1, and I'm going to use the C side, okay? So what I'm going to do, this particular template has lines here that show where the needle's going to go. And I want to put that on my fabric, but I want to do the curve going this direction because I think it looks more garlandy like on fabric that you're not doing a three-dimensional hanging thing, but just stitching. There we go. And now we're back on the line. So we're going to pick our next template, and that is going to be, what's next here? The gingerbread man is the one that came up next. So put him in as same markings, right? And remember, we use the dotted line. We're not using the solid line that's in the middle. We're using the dotted line. So let's put that in. Put the dotted line. Now we're going to have to go around this twice. So I'm going to choose, again, we should have the staple tape on the fabric. I'm betting 1,000 here today. And I am going to go up here. And your gingerbread has a couple of little humps on them. Here's another one. And here's another one. And careful going around this way. So this is what I suggest you do. There's another hump. We're back to where we started. And we're going to go around this way. And when we get to the line, we're going to stop. See how nicely that curve just comes right into our next motif? But what I suggest that you do is that you take these templates, right, and you put them down and you don't engage your needle, and you just take your needle around with your foot to kind of see the feel for the template before you actually use it. So we're going to use our connector again and put that on there and stitch to the next line, or till we get to the line again. You could alternate these, go up and down and up and down. I just kind of like this look to it. I think that's kind of fun. And next up we have our Christmas tree. Make sure the staple tape's on the bottom. This has, you go around little kind of, this is very pointy right here when you come around. So good thing to practice with these before you actually do them. Is that right? There we go. This is going to be challenging because we're right on this part, but that's okay, we can do that. So, oops, up there, the dotted line, and we're going to go again towards the top. Because I think the top of the tree is going to be easier to double stitch than the bottom of the tree. And I kind of made a loop where the connector is, but that's okay. See, it made a little loop right there. And then I would keep going, but as you can see, I have run out of room here. But let me just show you what happens if you were to keep going. Now, if this were the end of my quilt, like say my quilt ended right here, I would do a partial one. But we're gonna We're going to pull our threads here. There we go. And I should have taken a couple of stitches at the end there, but before I pulled my threads and trimmed them, I would have taken a couple of stitches right there and then pulled them and cut them. If I don't take locking stitches, then I would pull my threads and bury them. So, all right, let's start with the connector. That kind of sounds like fun. We'll start with the connector and put that on the edge of the line here, and we'll do the other ones. There's a total of 6 motifs in this set, which I think is really fun. And I picked C because I liked that it went down, kind of like a swag, I guess is what I would call it. So next up we have the star. And the important thing to know about this star is it's not a mirrored image. Everything we've done so far has been a mirror image, meaning that the left side and the right side, like on the Christmas tree, are identical. So you could switch it over like this and you would stitch the exact same shape. The star is a little different. Okay, if you see this point of the star over here on the left is lower than the point on the right. So just remember that when you do applique with this particular template. So, which we're going to go, oh, this is going to be challenging because we can't go up here. That's all right. Again, we're going to go towards the top. Normally I alternate, right, when I'm doing edge-to-edge quilting. But because we're not going in the middle of our shape and we're going more towards the top, that's why I'm going towards the top. And again, we're going to stitch over our connector, and that's fine. And now we're going to come out here, do the connector again. Pick our next shape, and the next shape we have is an ornament. And this is also mirrored image of itself. Again, same thing on whether you do front or back. So we're going to come in here, go to our dotted line, and stitch him out. So the only marking you would need to do is a straight horizontal line like that, and that would be your baseline. You could also use the seam on your quilt to line these templates up, or you just could eyeball it if you didn't want to mark it and go, that's kind of about the same place. Pull this out. And then the one that we made our garland with is around here somewhere. Let me find him. I keep grabbing the wrong connector. I love these connectors. And here is the stocking. This is the last one. And again, like the star, this is not a mirror image of itself. If you flip it over, the toe goes to the right. And this way the toe goes to the left. You can stitch it in both directions. It doesn't matter. So if you want to do it this way, just put stable tape on this side of your template. And now I'm going to put this in here and line that up on the dotted line. There we go. Again, this is kind of an awkward place right here, but we're going to be fine. We're going to go, this time I'm going to go to the bottom because I think it's going to be easier to double stitch this part of the template where the toe is, because this is smooth. This part of the template is not smooth. It has a couple little ridges in it. So let's do this. And we're going to come down. A little ridge right there. Little ridge right here. Little ridge right there. Stitch up to the line, take that out, and you could just leave it like that, but I kind of, when I do edge-to-edge quilting, I like to take the design all the way off the quilt. So. And then I would run it off into the batting and just clip like that. So there are all the different motifs. And see, by doing the connector first, you kind of get these staggered when you do it. And I think that looks really cute. So there are all the different Christmas motifs. There's so many things you can do with these. And I really hope that you enjoy using them. Let me back up a little bit so you can see all of them. So there they all are. So super fun to play with. They make really cute designs. Again, these are the Christmas motifs that are 4 inches by Sew Biz. Really, really fun templates. And what I meant by not using your needle, when you get a new template, let's do the stocking, because it has these ridges right here. So let me go back so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, sorry about the shakiness there. What I do is I just lower my foot. I don't engage the needle at all. And I hold my template and I go around like this. And I just, wow, there's like a little lip right there where you could just fly off the template, right? But now that I know it's there, when I come around, I hug the template. Same thing, there's one right here. So it just gives me a feel of the template so that the first time I use it, I'm not surprised. Oh, there's a little ridge right there too. And there's one right up there, right here. So it's just a fun way to kind of, the other one that has a lot of ridges on it is the Christmas tree. So let's say I started my Christmas tree at the top, come down, there's a hump right here. Oh, there's one that I could go off. Like I could just, like kind of like if you think of a ski jump, right? You could just go woo like that. But I just kind of hug it like there. Go around, go around. Oh, there's a bump right there, careful. Little curve and a ski jump. That's what I'm going to call them from now, ski jumps. And a curve and a ski jump. And that just gets me comfortable using the template before I actually use it. I also recommend practice stitch outs before you play with templates, but this will really help you, especially if it's a template you haven't used in a while. I always do that. Like if I haven't used a curly Q in 6 months, I might pull it out and play with it like this so I get the feel for it. So anyway, I hope you enjoy these templates as much as I do, and have a nice holiday.
Thank you so much, Pam. That was such a great class. And I did post some links to be able to check out those Christmas motifs if that's something that you want to bring into your home. Um, and then I also included the applique discs, something that you might be able to take advantage of if you're not an Elevate Club Box member. The applique discs would be a really cool option for being able to, use those as more of that true applique option. So I've gone ahead and posted links to those along with our 6 weeks of holiday deals because we've got some really great deals going right now. And so I would definitely want you to take advantage of those. So go ahead and check that out in the comments. Otherwise, we got that 20% off on today's template. So hopefully you grab that and put that in your cart. And we'll look forward to having you join us again next week for more fun education. So Pam, always amazing, great education from you. Thank you so much for joining us. Uh,
Lovely. I love being here. And next month, I have another idea baking in my head. That's a hint. I have something baking
Ooh,
in my head. And I
okay.
know that Danelle is going to show these templates soon too.
Yes.
So you're going to want them for sure.
Yeah. So keep playing. They're going to be around all season long for everyone. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.